안녕하세요. Exchange Chan Megan
Annalie입니다. 안녕하세요. Exchange Chan 16번째 시간입니다. 오늘은 저희가 female art, 특히 그 중에서도 여성의 바디를 이용한 예술에 대해 얘기해 보려고 하는데요. 그래서 여기 스튜디오 안에 메간과 또 다른 한 분의 여성 예술가 분을 모셨습니다. 인사부터 나누겠습니다. Hi, Megan.
Hi. Yeah. So, if y'all heard another voice, we have a guest today, my friend Ursula. Hi, Ursula.
Ursula.
Hi. There you are.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you for coming.
So, Megan, you look happier today to have your, friend artist.
Of course.
Please, would you introduce your friend?
Yeah. So this is Ursula. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for coming. How do we know each other?
How
We
do we know?
met this year in February
Mm.
in acting class.
Yes.
By instance.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you that much.
Yeah.
But after acting class, we
Mm.
became much better.
Yeah.
And we met again
In a
bus stop.
yeah. So okay.
stop.
So
By accidentally.
yeah. So to elaborate on that, we were actually in 2 acting classes together, and I obviously noticed you because like our first acting class, there were lots of people, and then it dwindled down, and Ursula was also a constant as I was, and then we were in a second acting class together, and what made me know that I needed to get to know you more was because you mentioned, I paint, I do these things, and I go. The more I learned about you, just even in your introduction in the second acting class, I thought, wow, okay, I just felt a connection. And yeah, it was at a bus stop. Found out that Ursula plays tennis near where I live. And I was so perfect. It was so serendipitous, so great. I was actually going to be like a few minutes late. And I'm just at the bus stop. And you look at me and go, Megan. Come.
Very automatically, naturally, I stand up in front of her. Megan.
Literally, that's all I said. And then you just go, come. What? And there's like this man with her and a big dog, and I'm like, what is going on? And you gave me a ride.
Yeah,
it was so good.
So fantastic because I really want to have a conversation with her, but I couldn't get a chance to talk with her. But by coincidence, and I think that is a destiny, kind of.
Yeah.
Because,
Destiny?
Yeah,
Oh,
because, if I really want to have something, it happens.
Yes.
It
yeah.
happens.
Yeah, it happens because God or the universe,
Whatever you believe in.
me.
Yeah.
Cherishes me.
Hey, that's like a perfect, that's like the best thing to ever think about. Like, I'm God's favorite. Like, God cherishes me. But I it's whatever you believe in. I think whether you pray, whether you believe in the universe, energy, divine intervention, like yeah.
Yeah, always responding to my desire,
Yeah.
my pray.
Yeah.
Always responding.
I love that though. The universe, God cherishes me.
Yeah.
And
Too much.
everything works out. It's great. No, never too much. Be God's favorite. Be
Okay.
the favorite.
I
I'm not
that's-
spoiled child.
No, be a spoiled child. I think that's fine. But yeah, and sometimes it's then being open to how it manifests. Because literally that morning too, I wanted a ride. And the person I live with was there, and I'm like, oh, and he was driving somewhere. I'm like, are you going in that direction? He's like, nah. And so then literally I had to get on the bus, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting a ride. Like, I didn't know I was getting a ride. But yeah, that's how we went out for coffee. We just been getting to know each other,
Yeah.
and you're here now, which is great.
Is it? It was not unbelievable. It was unbelievable. We talked for almost 7 hours.
Yeah.
7
without
hours?
break
Yeah.
and
Without
without
break.
alcohol.
I can feel that. You are friends because, I can feel some kind of same vibe from you too.
Well, I think that's the beauty of, living around the world where I live. And as I've lived life, I've learned that, regardless of where you're from, your upbringing, age, anything, it just really is that energy that you feel with someone, and that's how you connect. Whether it's for a season, whether it's for however long. I think that's what's important. And I mean, such as with the topic today, you know, like the three of us,
women
we are,
in art.
yeah, just, you know, whether it's that we're all women, we're all whatever. I think there's a lot to talk about, and I'm excited.
Okay. Anyway, welcome you both.
Thank you.
And then from first one, actually, I'm a guy who doesn't have a decent knowledge about art.
Okay.
Especially body art of women. So I searched a lot on the internet, and then it seems that it all started from the feminism of the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
And it says feminism is a social, political, and economic movement and theory that seeks gender equality.
Okay.
And this movement strives to ensure that women have the same rights and opportunities as men, and aims to address issues such as gender discrimination, sexual violence, and gender inequality. Feminism comes in various forms and waves with the main goal of advancement of women's rights. And the women began to artistically express body liberation, positively portraying their bodies and seeking to break free from social oppression.
Yeah.
Is it right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is right. I first want to acknowledge that. So Ursula doesn't know this as much, but so Joanne, I think, does this beautiful thing during our call it a podcast, radio show, whatever, of when you don't know something, you research it, and I'm always proud of you.
I researched it because I'm so ignorant in that field.
But I think, but you have curiosity, and I think that's the most important thing.
I have a lot,
which is beautiful, and I think that's where, I mean, again, more connection, right? I think having curiosity is the most important, and even just the humility to say I'm ignorant is beautiful. So no, you're right. This is great.
Yeah.
Good base knowledge. Yeah.
Base knowledge. So using that, for using the body, and
but hearing
this explanation helped me understand it to some extent.
Yeah, I think you understood it correctly. I mean, do you have a question in that, or like, do you want us to elaborate on? Because I mean, I always have a lot to say. I'm sure, Ursula, you have some things to say about this as well. I think the first thing I get from this, we talk about feminism, we talk about I think that's such a hot word in Korea right now, especially, but also around the world. Am I right? Like, do we? Yeah. And sometimes it's said quite negatively. I don't know Korean, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also used as an insult against women. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
so if you have any, the opinion about the feminism, and then some stories about the body art as a women.
For sure. I mean, I think, so starting with feminism, I also struggle as a white woman with it as well, because I think, talking about art, women in art, and using the body, it's very intersectional. It's, yes, sure, there's a feminist thing, but something I've struggled with my own work as well. People want to reduce it to just being feminist art, and it's not that at all. Like, it is that, sure, but it's so much more than that. And I think so many women who make art, especially if you use your body, especially if you talk about certain subject matters, so many people want to put it in this box and reduce it to, it's just about feminism, which is, like I said, hard for me as a white person, because so much of quote unquote feminism has been made to serve white women, and which isn't good. So that's why I talk about intersectionality, because we need to also embrace different kinds of bodies, different colors of skin, different approaches to what does liberation mean, what are the languages behind this, what are the cultures in which it's being presented. I guess you could call it the root in body art. What would you say, Ursula, it being?
if I got the question
Yeah.
10 years earlier,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I'm a feminist. It means if I declare I'm a feminist,
Mm-hmm.
I should be victimized in the office because it is very kind of a stigma.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
It
so,
was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think even now still a little bit.
maybe. So I thought I'm not a feminist.
Mm.
I believed it
Mm.
because I want to be promoted on top of that. So I pushed myself to the limit by exploit myself.
Yeah.
So I had to be a man instead of woman. So if a man didn't get the opportunity to take some very big burden, I volunteered. I can do it. Even though I'm a woman, I can do it. So they hired me, they promoted me. So disguising myself as a neutral body, neutral gender,
Yeah, yeah.
I became a monster.
So you want to look a little stronger than.
Anyway, I want to prove my ability.
Yeah, yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
I don't want to be treated as a weak woman
Yeah.
or very someone who need careful. So
Yeah.
yes. But after quitting my job, I became more freer.
Yeah.
I became freer. So now I think I'm a feminist
Yeah.
because when Angela Merkel, the
Yeah.
chancellor of the German
German chancellor.
chancellor, she got the same question. Are you a feminist? In front of a media outlet.
Yeah.
She denied. And she didn't answer to that question. But after resigning her duty, she declared, I'm a feminist.
Yeah.
And she showed her ability during her period, being a talented and powerful leader of the world, of the country. She showed how should be a good leader.
Yeah.
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 And I also think it doesn't matter to say I'm not a feminist or I'm a feminist, but by doing what we are doing,
Yeah.
we can show we are feminists.
Yeah.
And our current president, is it political? I don't know. But anyway, he got the question from New York Times journalist.
Okay.
And at some point he denied. And at some point he denied.
Yeah.
And it's very complicated question. Are you a feminist?
Yeah.
And it can be sounded like a taboo.
Oh,
And-
it definitely
yeah.
is. Yeah.
And the identification of feminist makes them go forward or can be a shackle of their work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're so right. It can be. I think shackle is a good way to put it too. Right. It's the box that I was talking about with, me when I was talking about like the art that I make, and I think women who do make things, it's like, oh, it's just about the body or it's just about feminism, and also just like with anything, how some people like use and manipulate those words as well. Like there are English, we have this word TERF, which is trans exclusionary radical feminists. So it's like, yeah, okay, we're feminists, but they exclude trans and queer people in a lot of ways and aspects of womanhood that, oh, we don't think this is a thing. So I think just with anything, it can be used against you. And even when someone, like with using the body in art, as I'm sat here going, yeah, I just got naked, a few weeks ago, like here I am. It's both liberating in that way, and yet that people want to put a box on it and restrict, to cage aspects of it and twist it and manipulate it to make it a negative. I think it's just, the story of a lot of, anyone who's not in power, really, and anyone who's maybe had that experience of victimhood or an oppression. And when we talk about women in art, using the body in art, we're using the term body art very liberally today, just as like a quick term, but it's using the body as a tool in art. And I just making that clarification because it can be used to be like, oh, it's just body art. And it's not that. Like me getting up, being naked and like bathing in clay wasn't just to make body art, right? It's about the reclamation of body and story and being and taking up space in that way. So yeah, sure. It's
so one more. My motto was that quest to my lost femininity after quitting my job.
Yeah.
Because as I said, I had to transfer to something else instead of being a woman.
Yeah.
So after quitting my job, I wanted to recover my identity. So I've been read a lot of books on something which is related in feminism and human's body and people recognition on the universe. So the core of the work was related my quest to my lost femininity.
Which I think is so great. I think that's a perfect thing. Like you don't have to be artist, creator in that way to regain femininity. I think there's a lot of, just as you were saying in the workplace, that there's a sense of that you had to become more man, to become more this. I was just hanging out with a mutual person that Ursula and I know, and he joked at me just being like, because I talked about how I can be soft, and he's like, I don't think you can. He's like, are you ever? And that was, I thought about that more, and I wasn't insulted by it, but it's true. Like I've, just as you had to in the workplace, become this strong thing. I can do this and become more man instead of maybe having the beauty of feminine strength and like a womanhood type strength. That you have to do it in a way that maybe is out of character, but because maybe feminine strength isn't seen as work, just like housewife work has for generations not been seen as work and not been valued, right? But it's invisible work. It's invisible labor. That's an English term that we use. Right. I too have had to become certain. I've had to portray myself in the world in a certain way. And so I thought about his words and I was like, oh, I do soften when I feel safe to be that soft part of me. That still is actually a really strong aspect. And it comes out within creation a lot, I think, that like there's the power of femininity, the power of ease and flow, I would say, in creation is a lot of that. So that you're making art now after retiring, I think is a good way to get in touch with that lost sense of self that you maybe had to lock away. And I think so many of us do lock away in our lives because it's seen as hard. And it's funny you say that, because like my whole artist practice is a lot of that, and I didn't know it was at first, but it's this power of creation of like visceral, and maybe that's why I use my body a lot, because it is a forefront example of femininity. Like I even though I have like this, harshness and whatever, like I can't get away from how feminine my body looks and how I use it, and that connection to the richness and power of creation that it just is. Even having a period, and this isn't excluding those who are trans and maybe were not born with a uterus, more so this sense of like pain, and that's also within a feminine queer experience, any of that there's this like it's life, it's a virality, it's a certain type of life that I think is so often looked over.
Yes.
So I think your question about like, is this where art comes from? Yes, it comes from feminism, but we have to make these boxes, I think, and say these things in order to talk about all this richness that we just talked about. It's all there. It's intersectional. It's multidisciplinary. It's multifaceted, and that's just it's one way of saying like, yeah, it's a reclamation of all these things that have been taken from us and belittled and reduced. That word will come up, I think, again later in our conversation. But yeah,
okay,
I truly agree with that. The problem was that how can we define femininity?
Yeah.
Femininity is not just weak or just soft or just pretty or just beautiful.
It's not.
Instead, yes, we can elaborate and more explain about femininity and masculinity. And I also,
they're restrictive words.
Yeah.
They're very restrictive words. I think
Yeah.
we need different vocabulary because femininity can also be raw power. I mean, giving birth is the most visceral feminine experience in some ways. And again, not to diminish that. That's like, not every woman gives birth. Not every woman can give birth. But that connection to creation, I think it's powerful. It's strong. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
But it's gorgeous.
Sometimes I feel masculinity from myself. I could feel femininity from my husband.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
It's in everyone.
Yeah, it's not limitation by their apparent gender.
Yeah.
Instead, we have the kind of future to
Yeah.
create.
So I think it's, again, where language, just as with, language is limiting. And, in any case, even though Korean has how many words? Like Korean has a plethora of words. It's still restrictive. And so I think, it's maybe a good time to be discovering and exploring more words along femininity versus masculinity, because I think, they're wrong, because we have a variety of genders and, gender expression and I would say energy expression, creative expression, so I think, you're right. There's just a difference in that. How is that for a summary? Can you summarize that a little
is it
bit?
possible?
Difficult. This is so difficult. And I will try in a very brief way.
Thank you.
네, 제가 지금 오늘의 주제가 Women in Art인데요. 그 중에서도 바디를 이용해서 그 아트를 특별히 자기를 표현하는 그런 아트 방법에 대해서 지금 얘기를 하고 있는데, 제가 잘 몰라서 그거를 많이 정보를 찾아보니까 그런 아트가 페미니즘에서 출발을 한 거라고 하더라고요. 그래서 제가 페미니즘을 좀 여러 군데서 찾아봐서 페미니즘에 대한 설명을 드리면서 메간이나 우슬레 씨에게 그렇게 이해하는 게 맞냐고 물어봤는데 두 분 다 그런 방향으로 말씀을 해주시고 있네요. 그리고 그 바디를 이용한 그 여성의 아트가 결국 페미니즘에서 시작이 됐고, 그러니까 여성을 사랑하는 그런 마음에서 시작이 된 거와 함께 그 남성 위주의 사회에서 우리 여성의 어떤 equality, 남성과의 어떤 equality를 추구하는 그런 마음에서 시작이 되었고, 그 다음에 여성을 약하다고 치부하는 그런 것에서 벗어나서 우리의 어떤 참모습, 그 다음에 남성의 세계에서 우리를 표현할 수 있는 그런 자유를 얻기 위해서 이런 아트가 시작이 되고 있다고들 얘기하는 걸로 알아들었습니다.
Thank you so much. I mean, talking again, we have to go to our first song soon, but the limited language, equality, I think that's been a limitation within feminism so much, because it's like, well, we want exactly, it's like, it's not this exact equalness. It's more of like an equity. It's more of a, this feeling of just finding beauty in all the different strengths and all the different ways of going about living and being and expression. So again, changing language, sorting through things. But our first song, and Ursula brought us a song today. Do you want to introduce it, or should I?
The title is Fantasia.
Yeah.
I love this song so
Great.
much.
Okay.
So much.
Because when I was young, I listened this song all the time because I had nothing but friends, and it reminds me of a happy memory. So, especially in rainy season,
Which were
so I listen that song all the time.
Oh,
great.
Title is Fantasia, and one of my friends recommended this song 30 years ago, but he didn't give me the exact name of the band.
So you don't
Ifu.
know.
I don't know.
It's spelled.
That's why I'm confusing.
because
all the
it's
time.
Italian.
I didn't know that until today.
No. So it's Italian. It's an Italian band. It's spelled like poo, like Pooh, like the bear. could be po, pu, fu.
Yeah.
But that's our song. So enjoy.
Yeah. As a woman artist, especially using your own body, what did you find so attractive about it?
Are you asking me? Both of us?
Yeah,
Whatever.
both of us. Both of you.
I mean, I've been artist for over 10 years now, right? And like calling myself that has been its own journey. And using my body, I mean, saying attractive, I don't know, like because what draws you to it, what makes you do it. I happened upon it, I was asked to do a self-portrait, and just something in me said, hey, you need to not wear pants. And I was like, what? And at the time I was really kind of starting on the journey, but more so in the beginning of my journey of deconstructing my Catholicism, my upbringing. I was in therapy and eating disorder treatment, all these things. And I'm just like, why do I need to take my pants off? Why? I'm just like pacing back and forth going, I'm a good Catholic girl. Like, what do I do? But I did it. And
you did it.
Yeah. And my professor at the time was like, you have something there. You need to, I encourage you to, we had to do a series for the next one. And I used nudity in it. And so using body and like, it's not that it was attractive to me and not like, but like it wasn't this thing of like, ooh, I'm going to do this. It was like a very visceral thing and a necessity almost. This feeling of I need to do this, and this knowing that I need to do this and I need to work through this. And I need to explore with this, and I need to use it as a tool, especially since I have a history of not thinking so highly of myself and not viewing my body in the best way and not treating it well. Really, so it was really contradictory at times because, you go in front of the camera and you get naked and whatever. And I have been, how many times I've taken nude portraits of myself or nude imagery or using my body at least some way with nudity, and yet not being able to take selfies because I hated who I saw and not being able to look in the mirror and not thinking my body was good looking in so many ways. So it never actually wasn't an attractive thing. It was like this. It wasn't a desired way, but it was a knowing of this is what I do. And I just knew I had to follow it. Now that I've been doing it for, it's like 13 years now, coming on 14. Now that I've been doing it for so long, I think using the body is, I don't even know if I still would use the word like an attractive thing. Like I still confront it all the time. There's still insecurities about it. For my performance that I had to get naked. I planned it. It's not like I planned the performance. I chose. But sometimes it does feel like I have to. Like there's a part of my art that has this call to use nudity. And but even then the person I'm sleeping with, hi y'all. But I just look at him and go, do I look good naked? So there's still like this insecurity about it, even though I've worked through a lot of insecurity around my art and my body, and just personhood, and I can look in the mirror now and be like, you're fucking great. I love you. I can say that now. But even still, there's a vulnerability of nakedness. And I think maybe if we say there's an attractive quality to using my body, it's the vulnerability. And I've known from a very young age that I have a high capacity for vulnerability that a lot of people don't, whether it's telling my story, leaving everything I knew and leaving my family, now shedding my family in many ways, and friends, people, places, things. I have a high tolerance for vulnerability, or a capacity that I think most people don't. And so I felt like there's almost this duty within me to use it in my work. And I think body is a good example of vulnerability, because no matter how I use it, there are still people who are going to talk negatively about it or be hyper attracted to it, or anything from being in grad school, even like hello graduate school, and being told I'm showing off and that I'm too good looking for what I'm trying to say, when I'm like, you don't know my history and my current view of my body and my relationship with it. So if there's any attractiveness about it, I think it's a good tool to have in my toolbox of art. And it goes with me, and that my work is about story, body, experience. I think it's a good one to use, because it's affected by everyone I encounter, and my own just personal experience. So thanks for asking that. So now I came about to it's not an attractive thing that I do, and now oh, maybe it is, and that's not being hi, I'm hot. It's more of okay. But what about you, Ursula? When you think of using, because if you would like to share, do you call yourself an artist?
I was born as an artist.
I think so.
Yeah, and as you guys, we are all artists when we are 3 years old, 4 years old. We are all artists.
I think all humans
are artists.
Yeah, we are all artists. And now I became an artist because I pushed away my desire to be an artist for a long time, but I like to confront my desire and my instinct with all my heart.
Yeah.
So yes, I try to not be offended with the concept of artist or calling by the name of an artist.
Yeah.
But I remember the moment I was offended by parents.
Yeah.
When I when I drew for the first time acrylic painting.
Okay.
It was yes, abstract painting.
Yeah.
I was convey the feeling of rainy water, rainy sea with my hands. So I was very experimental at the time,
Yeah.
and I burned my whole night. And in the morning, I showed my child to my parents, but their response was very weird.
Oh yeah. I mean, so many people I think aren't connected to their inner artist, their inner child. I think great saying like we're all born as artists, and some of us keep that connection or admit our connection later. Like you said, you kind of put it away for a long time, and now after retiring, after going through what you've gone through, you're going, oh, well, I want to reconnect with this because it's always been there, and it's like eating at you sometimes. And some of us, it's more of a need and a necessity than others, but I think we're all artists and creative. But that you talking about this reaction from your parents, of course.
My parents' reaction was, what is it?
Oh yeah, that's okay. I've done a little bit of, I've done a lot of childcare. I've been a teacher, and I also have done some art education. And a big thing is never ask a child what it is, because you never really, it just like, oh, tell me about it. Like if you can't tell what it is, just ask to be told about it, and having that curiosity, because they were curious when they made it. It kills a child's spirit.
Yeah. So that moment, I abandoned my.
That's early. That's so early. That's an early time to abandon it, but like normal.
My medium was
common.
not that limited to painting or drawing. Instead, I used my pen. For my whole life. So I became an editor, journalist, and writer. I did everything the company wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And I think I was an artist, and my medium was my life.
Of course.
And I worked as an artist because I was so sincere and very honest. And I pushed myself to the limit, and I was try to be best. Yeah. That's all. But now my medium became canvas, painting, tube, and threads, and garbage,
as one does,
including myself.
And just as you said, your life has been your medium for a long time. So. And you have an interest in body, though, which is why we're talking about it today. Also, why we've connected. Maybe also met in acting class, and even Joanne, you're sat here going, "Oh, I'm ignorant about these things," but like, no, you also have a body, and you're moving through the world, and we all, use it and take up space in certain ways. And like as actor, that's a very, like acting class is a good. I know it was very healing for me, because like getting into your body in certain ways is really. That's all, what acting and art is about. In a lot of ways, acting is a good example of it. But when I asked, like, hey, what do you want to talk about? Art and body. So now that you're admitting to yourself more and reconnecting with a very, let's say, more stereotypical and like commonplace way of making art, even though, you did it differently for many years. What's the interest in body?
Usually, I use my brain instead of my whole body because my job was make a direction or make a plan strategy. So I have to use my brain synapses instead of my whole cells in the body.
Yeah.
So it was disconnected with my body and the brain. So I know I have to go forward, but my body resisted it.
Oh.
So I poured caffeine all the time to push myself.
Get that.
As so many people do. So
like
many people do.
My body don't want to sit down in front of the desk, but I have to grab me down, settle me down on the desk, on the chair. I tortured myself because the only asset I have was my body. So I had no background, wealthy family, or any any strings. So I just tortured myself Yeah, that's all I have to do. I can do. I should do. So my body started to talking to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not anymore.
No, you can't do it. No, thank you.
No more.
Stop.
Enough.
Yeah. Okay.
I try to listen to my body's voice with care and sincerity. But I had to ignore my body quite for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm so sorry to my body. And I forgot how to ignite my body, how to turn on my body. I always gave a direction with my brain.
Okay.
But I have to realize the first thing we need to feel with our body. Yes, with our body, not pushed by our odor. So it was sometimes very self-destroying.
Of course. Yeah.
So I realized that importance of how to turn on our body first by practicing acting class.
Yeah.
So it was very significant moment to me.
Yeah. Great. I love that because we I felt the exact same way. I had a lot of trauma in my life, and the body remembers. The body, it remembers all these things, whether it's you pushing it to the limit, you going through trauma, ways in which you navigate the world, even that you have that memory of your parents not enjoying what you made, right?
My creation.
Yeah, right. Or that, any kind of restriction on us as women. The three of us identify as women. And yeah, I think acting, I know that was exactly the same for me. And I had also gone through some recent trauma as well. And it was like, no more, I need to work through this. And it gets you in your body. I think all creation gets you in your body. Movement gets you in your body. And it's so needed and necessary. And I encourage anyone to create, and creation comes in all forms, connecting with your inner creator. Some of us call it artist, and some of us have maybe, a different way of going about it, but also that's a whole other discussion of, what is art and what's fine art, what's crafting, all these, whatever that is. That's a whole other thing. But I think you're so right in navigating the world through body. It's what you have. It's it's the vessel that we could call it soul, your energy, your spirit.
Vessel.
It's your vessel. It is, it carries you around the world. And if you are used to using it in a certain way, and then you maybe exploit it too much and you then can't use it, it is a wake-up call to be like, how can I maybe use it? And so by doing that through creation, I think is and being curious about it and listening to it through creation, I think is a beautiful way to go about it, to navigate something that's there. How can I use it now and be curious and explore in that way? I think is great. Yeah.
Ironically, I couldn't content with my body. Also,
you are not content with your body.
I've been contented with my body, because whenever I look at the figure in the mirror, wow, what is it? What should I do with my body, with my loosening arms and increasing butt and increasing belly?
Isn't that the
Why
you?
am I here? So why? Yes, it is also connected to my first thought. I gained 10 kilograms after the graduation. It means almost 30 years ago, my weight less than 10 kilograms than now.
Okay.
Wow, so skinny.
So skinny?
I think.
Maybe. And I think that is the ideal status of my body. That's why I torture myself. It is not good.
did part of that come from like being in a very male dominated workforce as well, that there was this feeling of like, and your value came from what you could do and produce in that's the body you were in. And now that you don't have, their body is different, it's just different. And you're, repowering maybe through creation, and as you know, we'll use the vocabulary femininity, as we said, need to work through changing that. But is there part of like a value that version of yourself you placed on that version of yourself, and the world placed on that version of yourself, to now be like, oh, it's not like, to have it different? Is there a
kind of
discontent?
Yes. Before dating, I starved myself because I want to be slim in front of my lover. 30 years ago.
Okay.
But I still reduced my amount of eating. Before having a big event with others or to be prepared. But sometimes I think, why am I doing this? Why I think being slim is the best way to be heard by people, to be promoted by people. For what? That is my question. Why am not content with my own body? Still.
So I mean, I mentioned it earlier, and you brilliantly, you brought it up again, of the word reduce. Are there ways that, like, I mean, I'm kind of posing this question for all of us. Like, I think that's such a good word to use because, like I said, the three of us do identify as women and have a feminine experience. This feeling of needing to reduce yourself, and it's in a very physical way or personal way. Like, how has that influenced your life? Like, is that something that's been a part of your reality, or have you not been conscious of it? Because I know I have. I know whether it's like a history of an eating disorder or needing to quiet down, like people literally in my family just looking at me and going, just stop being who you are. And that's like a reduction. Like, is that, I think that's a good word to use. I don't know.
Of course, everyone got the same kind of, obsession to be slim.
Slim. I think it's a physical way. Have you had that experience as well in like personhood? Like in just like you as people, that like, oh, you're too much, or oh, your maybe womanhood is, I'm not going to listen to that because that's too much, or not important. Like kind of reducing your experience. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, and then without losing my weight, I cannot be a kind of decent woman.
So like you feel like your value goes down.
Yes, that's
if you're
right.
not.
Self-esteem is the matter. And then it belongs to my own self. My own self, and not the meaning of the others thinking way. So I know that it is taught, and it is taught from the other side, from other people. But I got that's what I am, and that kinds of thinking way is what I am. I have to recognize that. Insecurity
around body, because it is a very physical like reality in our world. I don't know, maybe that's why I was drawn to making art with my body then.
Frankly, I had an obsession. If you, it means I. If you gain some weight, or if you gain belly, you are not straight.
Not straight?
It means straightened. It means you are not tensed. It means you are not on the right track.
So kind of like you needed, just as you were saying, you really forced in your body to be like a certain way and a certain being.
Right.
And so then there was this sense of like, I have to, I need to almost like tighten, straighten. And then if you let yourself kind of loosen up a bit, oh gosh, that's not okay. And that's not the life I can live.
And I loved stoicism. in my unit.
Okay.
So eat less and do more. And if you became greedy or grease with fat, it's not good.
Okay.
For your mentality, not just for your body. It is kind of toxic in your brain, in your mentality. So I pushed myself with that kind of obsession.
Yeah.
I think I was crazy a little bit.
I was insane.
And I didn't accept my husband's belly.
So it transferred to other people.
Yes, especially to my husband, not for everyone.
Okay, just your husband. Because also think about that. He's like an extension of you to an extent because you chose him to be in your life. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I always warn him, if you get fat in your belly, fired.
Ursula, that's so interesting because how often does that happen with you hear it more with men doing that to women, like people saying like women only being good for their bodies and so getting into relationships and the man being like, if you get fat, we're divorcing.
That's why I think I have very strong masculinity in myself.
So you always order your husband asking that. Some kind of losing.
and that's interesting because like, we've talked about your artist journey as well, and like this marriage of like having to be so far masculine in one ways and then wanting this femininity in other ways. And yeah, maybe that is your journey of having questions about body and how you move in the world and your experience, but also creating in a more maybe traditional way, with not very traditional, but they're common enough topics, but maybe in our world, not easy to always talk about, or not always looked highly on. It's then maybe that's an exciting journey, I think, to be like, I had to be so far one way. How can I acknowledge this other way of being and kind of without denying that other part of you that you had to be for so long?
That's why I was amazed by the painting by Joan Semel.
Okay.
She portrays herself and her body is over 70, even 80.
Yeah.
And because of that, her arms are loosening and her belly is so loosening
and sagging.
Sagging. But it was so beautiful to me.
Yeah.
I was shocked by the moment when I saw the painting.
Yeah.
Wow, it is possible to accept the body as it is, even though it is aging.
Yeah.
It is loosening, as you said, sagging.
Yeah, to sag. Yeah.
Wow, it was so beautiful. So it was kind of enlightenment.
Yeah.
You have to accept your body as it is.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's funny that you can accept that, and then your having the first reaction of your husband, like, I don't accept your growing body, your evolving body, but then maybe that was such a that seems really monumental for you to be like, wow. I saw someone else's body, and oh my God, I fully accept that. Maybe I can accept mine too.
And I look at the paintings in the museum.
Yeah.
It was all about very idealized bodies.
Yeah.
So I was shocked. Wow, where was I?
Yeah.
And what is the fucking painting surrounding me? Why they are pushing me? Where to go? How to look like?
Yeah.
And why you all should be slim?
Yeah. I mean,
so
I think
I didn't know that unconsciously I was trained by the artworks,
by society, by
So I realized that because of the painting I saw,
it sparked something in you to change.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, I mean, this is such a great topic and there's so much to talk about within it. And I think the importance of women in art, using body, queer representation, all of this, which means I think we need a part 2. I think let's do a song to end it and have a little goodbye for now, but we will return next
idea.
week with part 2. How does that sound? And we'll continue our conversation.
To be continued.
To be
Yeah, to be
continued. So are we okay with that?
Okay.
So let's end with the song. So we had like 2 other songs, but let's end with the song. Yes. It's a Taiwanese band called Accuse 5, or in Chinese, please excuse my pronunciation, gajaeulradio, and their song Finally, which how不容易. Again,
Is it Chinese?
Yep, not really. It's Megan Chinese. Sorry, y'all, but that's the song, and I'm nervous because we also are out of time. So I'm like, bah! But let's say goodbye and have this song, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
See you next time.
See you next
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
城市滴答，小巷滴答，沉默滴答，你的手，慢热的体温，方向错乱，天气预报不准，雨伞我了拿我的手无处安放，包括我的心，像旋转木马。或许这就是注定，注定失败的结局，承受带来的孤寂，如滚水在心中蔓延。